Today's story takes place in Kofu City, located in the center of Honshu Island, Japan. It serves as the capital of Yamanashi Prefecture, shaped like a crescent moon. Kofu City was the territory of the Takeda clan, established during Japan's Warring States period, spanning from 1467 to 1615. This city is also home to Shosenkyo Mountain, one of Japan's 5 most famous mountains. The image of fresh waterfalls combined with autumn maple leaves creates an enchanting, picturesque scene that attracts numerous tourists. On an early morning in 2021, a house in central Kofu was engulfed in fierce flames. Later, 2 unfortunate victims were discovered in the ruins of the scene. Who were these 2 people? How did the fire occur? You are watching The Case of Yuki Endo, Japan's first death sentence for a minor, on the True Crime in the World channel. And as usual, if this story leaves an impression on you, don't hesitate to give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to stay updated with the most iconic cases. At 3:50 a.m. on Tuesday, October 12, 2021, while everyone was still asleep, on Pongzawa Chome 1 Street, about 3 kilometers from Kofu Station, Mr. A resident there, was suddenly awakened by a loud explosion, followed by the clear sound of crackling wood. He woke up in a start and rushed to the window to check the surroundings, only to discover that his neighbor's apartment was blazing. The fire was fierce, and black smoke was engulfing the entire house. Just 10 minutes earlier, when Mr. A was still drowsy, he had heard some noise coming from the Inoue's apartment, but being very tired, he didn't pay attention to the neighbor's commotion. He never expected that in just a few minutes, everything would turn out like this. The man quickly called the fire department, praying in his heart that the neighbor's family would be safe. After reporting the situation, Mr. A ran outside to see if he could help. By then, other neighbors had also noticed the situation, but the fire was raging so fiercely that everyone could only stand helplessly, waiting for the rescue team to arrive. The police arrived at the scene before the firefighters, along with 2 girls, both daughters of the Inoue family. The older sister, Keiko Inoue, 17, currently in her final year of high school, and her younger sister, Raiko Inoue, 14, in the 9th grade. A few minutes before the house began to burn, Keiko and Raiko were sleeping on the 2nd floor. Hearing a vague noise from downstairs, Raiko thought their parents were arguing and decided to go downstairs to intervene. But when she reached the 1st floor, the sight before her eyes terrified her. She saw a strange man holding a knife standing there, with her mother lying motionless on the floor. Horrified, Raiko turned to flee, but the man quickly caught her. In the critical moment, Raiko used all her strength to struggle and avoid a fatal blow, though the knife still left a long cut across her head. She then managed to knock the knife out of the man's hand, and, seizing the opportunity, ran quickly back upstairs. Strangely, the man did not pursue her further. Raiko, in her panic, dashed towards the bedroom she shared with her sister and locked the door. She then recounted the situation downstairs to her sister. Keiko, upon hearing this, was also terrified, but after calming down, she reasoned that staying locked in the room would inevitably lead to them being caught. Moreover, her sister was injured. The urgent task was to leave the house as soon as possible. It was 3:45 a.m. The sisters decided to act immediately. First, they ran to the balcony on the 2nd floor and jumped onto the roof of the neighbor's garage beside them, then carefully jumped to the ground. Both were trembling with fear. They didn't even notice they were barefoot as they ran. After running a considerable distance, feeling safe from immediate danger, they finally stopped. Keiko, with trembling hands, called the police, explaining that their home had been broken into by a thief and there was a high chance their parents had been attacked, with the perpetrator still inside. After reporting, the sisters, still anxious about the bleeding wound on Raiko's head, continued running through the dark night. They eventually stopped at a 24-hour convenience store 500 meters from home, where they explained the whole incident to the clerk who helped bandage Raiko's head wound. Both sisters were too scared to return home, choosing to wait at the convenience store for the police. Not long after, through the store window, they glimpsed flames rising into the sky not far away. At that moment, they were still unaware of what had happened until the police arrived and took them back to see their home in flames. Not long after the police arrived at the fire scene, the firefighters got there too. While the team tried to put out the fire, some officers outside the house looked for evidence and suspects. Then, a policeman noticed a suspicious man, but as the officer approached to question him, the man ran away. The police speculated that the fleeing man might be the thief Keiko had mentioned, but the suspect managed to escape. It wasn't until 7 a.m. that the fire was finally extinguished. Due to the house's old wooden structure, the fire spread quickly, almost completely destroying the house. Only a few charred beams remained on the first floor. Even the neighboring house was affected. The police immediately cordoned off the area, prohibiting entry. Because of the large fire and the need for strong water pressure to extinguish it, many traces at the scene were destroyed. After an inspection, the police found several gas canisters in the house, suggesting someone had deliberately set the fire. Among the debris, they found 2 victims who were lying on their backs rather than in a curled-up position, indicating they had died before the fire started. Although their faces were unrecognizable due to the burns, it was highly likely these were Mr. and Mrs. Inoue. The forensic results later confirmed that the bodies were indeed those of Shoji Inoue and Akie Inoue. Each had more than 10 stab wounds, all deep enough to penetrate internal organs, leading to death due to massive blood loss. The younger daughter, Raiko, had a head injury, a 5-centimeter long cut from her forehead to the top of her head, causing a skull depression. The male victim, also the homeowner, Moromasa Inoue, aged 55, worked for a construction company and was known for his seriousness and composure. He was always loving and indulgent with his daughters. His face would light up with a smile whenever neighbors mentioned his girls. The female victim, Akie Inoue, aged 50, was a nurse and had previously served as head of the community board. Those around her described her as kind and enthusiastic. The couple had been married for over 10 years, yet their love seemed as fresh as ever. Like her husband, Aki loved her daughters deeply, often mentioning to neighbors that since her daughters were still young, they would need more financial support in the future, so they would work harder. The Inoue family was always very harmonious. They often drove out for weekend trips, recognized by neighbors as the epitome of a happy family. No one could have imagined that in one night, this couple would be forever parted from their daughters. Even their cat on the first floor did not survive. After the incident, the Inoue sisters were nearly inconsolable with grief over the loss of their family members. The location of this incident is known for its good security, rarely experiencing such tragedies. The police quickly launched an investigation, promising to soon bring the murderer to justice. Although Keiko reported a burglary, based on the scene after the fire, the police deduced that the perpetrator might have planned to burn the house to destroy evidence. They quickly investigated the relationships surrounding Mr. and Mrs. Inoue. However, unexpectedly, at 7 p.m. that same day, the police received a call from a man confessing to murder. On the other end of the line, he was sobbing while admitting to the crime. After receiving the call, the police asked the man to stay put and immediately dispatched officers. The location where he was hiding was in Shinonobecho, Kofu. The police station was about 30 kilometers from the Inoue's house. Initially, he wanted to surrender there but found no one on duty, so he decided to call the police station. The police quickly arrived at the location where the man was hiding. He had driven there himself, and inside the car was nothing but him. There were clear burn marks on his face, and his right pinky finger seemed broken. He was very agitated, with stiff and disjointed movements. When the police asked him about the specifics, the man stuttered, unable to speak clearly. After a long interrogation, by 2 a.m. the next day, the police finally understood the full story and charged him with murder. Afterward, he was taken for emergency medical treatment. The next day, on October 14, 2021, after receiving treatment, the man was taken into custody at 2 p.m. During this time, the media was gearing up for interviews. As per the available information, the suspect was only 19 years old, which under Japanese law at that time meant he was still considered a minor since adulthood was defined at 20 years old. Thus, his face would be covered by the police when facing the public, and the car windows were to be blacked out to prevent anyone from photographing him. Moreover, on television, personal details like name, address, or any images that could reveal his identity were not allowed to be disclosed. However, there had been an exceptional case in 1968 involving Tadao Nagayama, who, at 19, committed several brutal murders and was executed on August 11, 1968. The lack of disclosure about the suspect's personal information in the Kofu arson case sparked immense public curiosity over several days. On the internet, numerous rumors circulated regarding the real identity of the suspect. Some said his surname was Shimoda, others claimed it was Miura, and that the killer had blonde hair, a fierce, terrifying appearance. In Kofu, there are many vineyard managers named Miura, and these rumors damaged their reputations. For a while, fake photos of the suspect were shared across social media, causing trouble for innocent, unrelated people. Additionally, there were rumors that were particularly upsetting and unacceptable to the public, suggesting the suspect was a classmate of Keiko at Yamanashi Prefecture Central High School. After these rumors spread, students at the school were constantly speculating who this person might be, with those absent from class during this period often becoming suspects. Besides curiosity about the suspect's identity, people were eager to know what kind of conflict he had with the Inoue family that led to such cruel actions. Keiko, closely related to the story, refused to reveal any information, leading to further rumors suggesting the suspect might be a boy who was pursuing Keiko at school but was opposed by her parents, leading him to harbor resentment and wait for an opportunity for revenge against Mr. and Mrs. Inoue. There were also rumors that Keiko was a delinquent, having ambiguous relationships with many boys, and the man was one of them. After discovering the truth, he felt his love was misplaced and sought revenge. Some, seeing Keiko unharmed, suspected she might be an accomplice. In reality, Keiko was nothing like the rumors suggested. At 17, she was in her last year of high school. From childhood, Keiko was known for her adorable large eyes. She was famously beautiful in Kofu, skilled in piano, and had a talent for painting. She was like a heroine from a romance novel. At school, Keiko had a gentle personality, always polite and respectful. When she first entered high school, she was quite shy and not good at socializing, but through her efforts, she became confident, lively, and integrated well with her peers. She joined clubs like chess and drama to expand her social circle. With her excellent academic record, Keiko joined the student council, always handling her responsibilities seriously and responsibly. She was well liked and seen as an idol by her classmates. Despite having many admirers, she turned them all down. This sudden tragedy, along with the rumors and criticisms, nearly broke Keiko, who had just lost both parents. Even people who knew nothing about her before began to spread baseless rumors online, severely affecting her school life and daily living. Only 9 days after the incident, while the police were still investigating, a newspaper managed to obtain and publish information about the suspect. This action clearly violated laws regarding minors, but it wasn't the first time this publication had done so. In the past, they had blatantly violated juvenile laws to reveal the real names of criminals in their reports. The newspaper did not recognize their wrongdoing, but claimed they were exposing crime to help the public be more vigilant and avoid serious consequences. Just months before this incident, Japan had passed a revision lowering the age of adulthood from 20 to 18. This also adjusted the age range for minors. Thus, 18 and 19-year-olds were now considered adults and would face stringent legal consequences. Moreover, after a suspect is indicted, the prosecution would allow the media to report their real names and images. However, the article was still considered a legal violation, since at the time of publication, the police were still interrogating the suspect, who had not yet been formally charged. Additionally, the new law was to take effect 2 years after its announcement, thus drawing criticism from various bar associations. However, it was because of this article that many details about the case were revealed to the public, specifically that the suspect's name was Yuki Endo, 19 years old, a schoolmate of Keiko, and also a member of the student council. After meeting Keiko, this young man began to pay attention to everything about her, actively seeking every opportunity to interact and get to know her. 12 days before the incident, at 1 p.m. on that day, Yuki Endo intercepted Keiko in the parking lot and confessed his feelings to her. He gifted her a Tiffany necklace, but Keiko politely declined, citing that they were not compatible, essentially because she didn't want to date someone she didn't know well. However, Keiko's rejection did not discourage Yuki Endo. Just a few days later, he followed her home and found out her address. A few days later, the young man continued to bother Keiko, constantly inviting her out for dinner. Moreover, he sent several expensive gifts to her house without asking for her consent. On October 7th, 2021, Keiko was so annoyed by this harassment that she reluctantly agreed to have dinner with her classmate. But in Yuki Endo's eyes, this meant Keiko had accepted him. Therefore, that evening, he took the initiative in all his actions, which only worsened Keiko's impression of him. She felt they were completely incompatible for dating. The next day, Keiko sent a message to Yuki Endo online, once again clarifying her stance that she did not want to date him, and immediately blocked him. Yuki Endo became even angrier after being rejected for the second time. Finally, unable to hold back, he decided to venture down a path of crime. Thanks to media coverage, the whole truth hidden behind the story was revealed, thus this case particularly caught the public's attention. Additionally, during the police investigation combined with Yuki Endo's statements, the reasons behind the incident gradually became clear. 4 days before the crime, on October 8, 2021, Yuki Endo realized that the messages he sent to Keiko online were still unread, which made him suddenly aware that he had been blocked. This further fueled the flames of hatred within him. After being rejected previously, he had been mocked by those around him, with everyone saying he had overestimated himself. Continuously being rejected fueled the young man's rebellious rage. In his mind, a crazy idea began to form. He wanted to kidnap Keiko to a secluded place, to question why she had rejected him. Then he would confine her there to make her experience the pain of her decision. These cruel thoughts kept swirling in Yuki Endo's mind. He went to an electronics store to buy pliers, a drill, and other necessary tools with the intent to pull out fingernails and stab the body of his victim. He also found an empty room near his grandmother's house to hold Keiko, buying sleeping bags and some dry food to hide there for a while, avoiding police pursuit. After preparing everything, he started monitoring Keiko's every move at school, waiting for the right moment to act. Suddenly, one day, Yuki Endo saw Keiko being intimate with a male classmate, appearing no different from a couple in love. Witnessing these scenes, the flames of jealousy and anger consumed what little rationality Yuki Endo had left. He immediately abandoned his kidnapping plan, opting instead for more brutal measures to ensure Keiko would have painful memories for life. In reality, that classmate was just Keiko's close friend. After deciding on a new plan, Yuki Endo went and bought more various tools, including an 18-centimeter machete and a fruit knife. He also watched videos online about gas explosions and silent window-breaking techniques. A few days later, Yuki Endo had prepared the window-breaking tools, 3 lighters, and 9 gas canisters. On October 11th, 2021, Yuki Endo didn't go to school, which made his classmates feel very strange since he had never taken a day off before. Some guessed that he was embarrassed to come to class after his failed confession. However, no one could have anticipated what terrible thing would happen the next day. In the early hours of October 12th, 2021, Yuki Endo drove to Keiko's house with all the necessary items, ready to end the life of the girl he claimed to love. At 3:20 a.m., he stood in front of her house, hesitating for about 10 minutes before deciding to commit the crime. He taped over the first-floor window, broke the glass, and silently entered the house. Then, Yuki Endo snuck into the bedroom on the first floor and encountered Keiko's parents sleeping in bed. The couple, hearing a noise, groggily woke up to check what was happening, but Yuki Endo, taking advantage of their drowsiness, drew his knife and attacked Shoji Inoue. The man struggled and screamed loudly to wake his wife beside him, but the murderer's blade did not stop, continuously attacking. When Akie Inoue woke up, the sight before her horrified her. Without thinking much, she instinctively ran out of the bedroom. Yuki Endo pulled out another knife, chasing the woman while swinging both blades. Eventually, Akie Inoue couldn't escape the clutches of the devil. She tried to block the attack in vain and soon collapsed to the ground. At this moment, Yuki Endo also noticed Raiko standing downstairs. He severely injured her but decided not to pursue her further. Instead, the killer lit the gas canisters he had prepared earlier. Yuki Endo wanted to make the Inoue family perish in the flames, but in the process, he himself got injured while igniting the gas. After finishing everything, Yuki Endo left the house. He didn't run away. Instead, he stood outside watching the fire with the neighbors. During this time, a policeman suddenly approached to question him, which made the killer extremely frightened, and he ran away. Yuki Endo frantically drove to an abandoned house about 30 kilometers away, which was initially where he planned to hold Keiko. By the evening of that same day, overwhelmed by despair about everything that had happened, the murderer decided to turn himself in. Right after the incident, Keiko was supposed to represent her school in a youth education seminar, something her parents were very proud of, hoping for a bright future for their daughter. However, this fire extinguished all prospects of that speech and destroyed a small, happy family. When questioned by the police, Keiko continuously blamed herself, saying she was the real target of revenge. Why didn't the perpetrator come for her? It was all because of her that her parents and sister were dragged into this, yet she was the only one left unharmed. On April 8, 2022, the Kofu City Court officially charged Yuki Endo with murder and arson. At that time, Japan's juvenile law had just been amended and officially came into effect. With the additional official information about the suspect, media outlets rushed to report on the case, drawing public attention once again. According to the information known, Yuki Endo's real name was Yuki Watanabe. He was 19 when the crime occurred. Growing up, he lived with his parents in Chuo City, adjacent to Kofu City. He was an introverted child, always hiding whenever strangers visited. When Yuki Endo was in 3rd grade, his father was arrested for stealing 2 water heaters from a plumbing company. Unexpectedly, this incident quickly spread throughout the school, leading classmates to shun him. This event left a deep scar in the young boy's heart. As time passed, his classmates forgot the scandal, but more significant changes occurred in Yuki Endo's family. His parents frequently argued and fought in front of him, even using knives against each other. By 5th grade, another issue arose. A classmate suspected Yuki Endo of stealing his Nintendo DS game card. However, despite searching everywhere in Yuki's house, the classmate found nothing. Yuki Endo assured his mother he had never stolen anything. His mother, believing her son wouldn't do anything as bad as his father, thought the other parent was just trying to keep their children away from Yuki by falsely accusing him. Following this, his mother applied for a school transfer for Yuki Endo, while the other parents spread the story to others. When he transferred schools, entering 6th grade, Yuki Endo was deeply fascinated by the anime Death Note. He told his friends that writing someone's name in the notebook could eliminate obstacles, and that feeling would be very happy. Also that year, conflicts within Yuki Endo's family intensified, leading to his parents deciding to divorce. His mother quickly remarried within less than a year, which was why he changed his surname from Watanabe to Endo. Not long after, this small family had a new member, making Yuki an older brother. His stepfather was a wealthy businessman, so Yuki's life became more comfortable and affluent. Before finishing junior high, he already had his own iPhone and often brought an expensive golf club to school to show off, causing envy among his peers. However, the relationship between Yuki Endo and his stepfather was far from good. Once, while playing near a river, he nearly drowned, and his stepfather, watching from nearby, couldn't help but laugh. After being rescued, his stepfather told him, "Guess who you owe a life to now?" From then on, Yuki Endo felt very afraid of his stepfather. At 13, Yuki Endo enrolled in a high school in Kofu, where he joined the tennis club. During his first summer, the school organized an extracurricular activity in a small forest, one of the few times Yuki Endo enjoyed himself. Not long after, he lost a match and was heavily criticized by a teacher, leading him to quit the club. With the addition of a new family member, the current apartment became cramped, and his stepfather rented an adjacent apartment for Yuki to live alone. There he often heard the happy laughter of his parents through the walls, making him feel like an outsider in a happy 3-person family. However, this didn't last long. When he was 14, his stepfather fell seriously ill and passed away. Throughout his junior high years, Yuki Endo left no particular impression, lacking close friends. So when entering high school, he decided to change himself, to become a better version. He never arrived late to class, always listened attentively, and took notes diligently. Despite his poor academic performance, which led him to repeat a year, Yuki Endo tried his best and earned recognition from teachers and classmates. Outside of school, Yuki Endo often exhibited strange behaviors. Sometimes classmates would see him laughing for no apparent reason. Occasionally, he would take on the role of the school's announcer, his voice clear and energetic on air. But once he put down the microphone, he returned to a completely different, calm demeanor. During a cultural festival at school, while everyone was enthusiastically discussing topics, he sat quietly in a corner, folding paper into shurikens. After falling for the beautiful and talented Keiko, Yuki Endo began to change, wanting to show himself more. He joined the chess club where Keiko was a member to be closer to her. During the election for student council president, with few competitors and the trust of the previous president, Yuki Endo was successfully elected, causing shock and confusion among those who knew him. On an April day in 2021, then 19, Yuki Endo decided to change his appearance by trimming his eyebrows and altering his hairstyle, hoping Keiko would notice him. His new look amazed friends and family, with everyone complimenting him on looking much more handsome. In 2021, with the severe spread of COVID-19, Yuki Endo and some classmates invented a hand sanitizer with prophetic bird designs on the packaging. These sanitizers were donated to the school. That October marked the strictest control and prevention measures against the disease, and the sanitizer created by Yuki Endo and his friends received high praise from the school, featured in local newspapers. The young man believed these achievements would impress Keiko and win her favor. However, reality was far from what he expected. At home, Yuki Endo had a massive argument with his mother about job prospects after high school graduation. His mother wanted to arrange a job for him, but he vehemently opposed it. He thought that taking that job would render all his efforts during school meaningless, and even if he took the job, his mother would take the money he earned. After being rejected by Keiko, Yuki Endo completely lost his reason, choosing to step onto a dark path with no escape. On October 25, 2023, 2 years after the incident, this case was brought to the Kofu City Court. During the trial, Yuki Endo was charged with intentional murder, arson, and other crimes. Facing these charges, the killer remained silent. The defense argued that during his growth, Yuki Endo unfortunately suffered from negative influences, leading to a mental disorder, implying he would not be held criminally responsible for his actions. However, the prosecution's psychiatrist quickly conducted a psychological evaluation of Yuki Endo and immediately refuted this claim. The case went through a total of 21 court sessions and officially closed on January 18, 2024. Only then did Yuki Endo break his silence, admitting his crimes and showing remorse, but he never once apologized to the victims. Keiko appeared in court via video link, expressing her guilt for dragging her family into this, and regarding the defendant, Yuki Endo, she wondered what sentence would be carried out against him, fearing another act of revenge. Finally, after thorough consideration, the court issued its final verdict. The defendant, Yuki Endo, was sentenced to death for the crimes of murder, arson, and others. After the trial, the defense completely rejected this decision, appealing to the Tokyo High Court, but just a day later, the lawyer withdrew the appeal at Yuki Endo's request. This was the first time in Japanese history that a minor was sentenced to death, so media outlets immediately published all related information, attracting widespread public attention, with only his mother left to bear the pain alone. People also expressed deep sympathy for the Inoue sisters, who lost their parents in one night. They also felt sorry for the young perpetrator, whose life was shadowed by his father's theft. Most Japanese people considered the death penalty a rightful decision, the best consolation we could offer to the victims. Currently, the Inoue sisters are being cared for and raised by a relative. The incident caused both to suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder and severe insomnia, particularly Raiko, who was haunted by nightmares for a long time. The memory of that horrific night never fades in her mind. Though the perpetrator paid the ultimate price for his sins, The act of taking innocent lives was extremely cruel, with Yuki Endo's motive for murder being utterly unreasonable and selfish. With this first death sentence for a minor, it opens a new future for Japan's judicial system, potentially preventing young demons from exploiting juvenile protection laws to act as adults before the law. What do you think about today's case? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, goodbye, and see you in the next videos on the True Crime in the World channel.